Hey guys, welcome back. So I'm right in the middle of trying to put my car back together, and I thought I'd take a break and go over what I learned when I diagnosed my temperature control blend door actuator. So a couple of days ago I was driving and it was cold, so I turned on the heater on full blast, and after about 10 or 15 minutes I wasn't getting any heat out of the vents. So I pulled over, and because my car has the automatic temperature control unit, I did I pulled the error codes right there on the unit, and it said error 24. And usually when that happens, it means the blend door actuator is on the fritz. So I went home and I watched a few videos on replacing it, and it turns out it's a bit of a procedure, a few hours in length, and you got to take a few components out. So before I ordered the part, I wanted to be 100% sure that the part was malfunctioning, so that I wasn't buying any parts that I didn't need to, and I wasn't wasting any time, and I just wanted to fix it right the first time. So in this video I just want to go over some of the basic troubleshooting tips to pinpoint the problem, and then I'll go over some of the things you got to remove from the car to get access to it, and then I'll go over to the inside of the car and show you what everything looks like removed, and that'll give you a better idea of when you have to do this. So like I said, my complaint was that I had no heat in the car. No matter how hot the engine was getting, I wasn't getting any heat into the car. So the first thing you want to do is you want to check the coolant level in the reservoir when it's cold and it's hot. And I did that, and my coolant level was where it needed to be. And the reason why you want to do that is if you're low on coolant, there won't be enough coolant to get into the heater core for the heater core to bring that heat into the passenger compartment. So the next thing you want to do is check the thermostat for a stuck open condition, because if the thermostat is stuck open, it's basically going to be overcooling, and the engine won't be getting hot enough to heat up that coolant to pump that hot coolant into the heater core to get that heat into the passenger compartment. And I did that with a scan tool. The next thing you might want to do is check the Coolant Temp Sensor data with a scan tool, just to make sure it's functioning properly. So I checked it when it was cold, and I checked it when it was hot, and it's functioning properly. Because if that's not working, you know, that might send a bad signal to the automatic temperature control unit. So the next thing you want to check is you want to check the heater core inlet and outlet hoses. And what that means is you want to make sure that hot coolant is going into the heater core and then coming out of the heater core. Because if it's not, it may indicate that the heater core has a partial blockage or is blocked. So I'll show you how to do that. And basically my online service literature says that you want to see both inlet and outlet hoses within 10 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So you want them somewhat similar. And when I checked mine, my inlet hose was 170 degrees and my outlet hose was 160 degrees. So it was only a 10-degree difference. So I knew that my heater core didn't have a blockage. Next, you might want to check the ambient temp sensor if you've got the automatic system. And again, that might throw a bad signal to the temperature control unit. Next thing you want to do is you want to check all the fuses, both in the passenger compartment and the underhood fuse box. Next, I checked the blower motor fan speed to make sure that my blower motor was functioning, because if the fan's not working, that's not going to bring the heat into the passenger compartment either, and mine was working. Now this next one, I get confused with this sometimes, and that's to check the airflow selection mode. And a lot of times this will fail, and you'll be getting air out of the incorrect vent. So if you select vent coming out of the center, you may have air coming out of the floor or the defrost. So I checked that, and all of my selection modes were working properly. I've got air coming out of the vent when I command it to, the floor, and the defrost when I command it to. And next, if you've got the automatic temperature control system, you pull that error code, you pull the error codes out of it, and I've got a video for that, so I'll put that down below. So next, my online service literature says to go to pinpoint testing, and what that's going to do is it'll check the integrity of the wires between the control head and the blend door actuator and other circuits, and it'll actually check for short to grounds or short to powers. And I skipped that step because usually you want to do that step when you suspect a bad wire, like maybe you've got a mouse in there and it chewed on a wire. And I really didn't think I had that case, because when I did the self-test diagnostic, it actually, my heat came back temporarily for 1 day, and then after that 1 day, then it died again. So that was making me think the actuator, the motor in the actuator just died, just gave out. Okay, so let me go over to the car, and I want to show you the heater core inlet and outlet test. So these are the two pipes. This one right here is the inlet. It's coming off the back of the intake manifold, and it's going into the heater core. And then this one right next to it is coming out of the heater core. So what I did is I took my temperature gun and I just shot both hoses, and you want to see those very similar or within 10 to 30 degrees. And if you don't have a temperature gun, you can just feel them with your hands, and they should feel the same. If one is hot and one is cold, that obviously means you have a problem, and you may have a blockage in your heater core. So that's how you do that. Okay, so when I was in my online service literature, I looked this up, and I wanted to know the hour, how many hours it would take to do it. And on my car with the automatic temperature control unit, it says the factory time is 3 hours and the motor time is 5.2 hours. So I'm thinking the 3 hours is what a dealership would pay to do this under warranty, and then out of warranty it's 5.2 hours. So again, I just wanted to make sure I got all this done correctly, so I only had to do it once. So probably the most important thing when you do this job is to make sure you disarm the airbag system, and there's a procedure for disarming it and arming it, because you need to remove the airbag to give you access to this thing. So real quick, just to disarm it, first thing you want to do is you want to make sure your system is working properly. So stick the key in there, turn the key to the run position, but don't start the engine, and you'll see the airbag warning light come on for 6 seconds, and then it will go off, and that means the system is working properly. So go ahead and turn the key off, and then what you got to do is you got to remove fuse number 22. It's a 10 amp fuse from your passenger compartment fuse box. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to turn the key to the run position, but don't start the engine. And you're going to witness the airbag warning lamp stay on for at least 30 seconds. And what that means is when the airbag light is on, it means there's a malfunction, and that's because you pulled the correct fuse. And if the airbag light goes off, it means you pulled the wrong fuse. So once you've determined that you've pulled the correct fuse, then you go ahead and disconnect the battery. And when you're done and you need to arm the system, it's a little bit different. You need to connect the battery. You need to turn the ignition switch to the on position, and then you're going to install the fuse. And then you're going to turn the key off, or turn the key off, wait 10 seconds, and then do that same check where the airbag light will turn off after 6 seconds. And another little interesting note I found in here, it says when servicing the airbag, it says fasteners used on the airbag components must be replaced after removal. The fasteners are coated with an epoxy adhesive, making them non-reusable. Now, based on my experience, I think we all know what that means. And so use your judgment if you want to replace those fasteners. So let me go over a few items that you need to remove from the car. So first thing you need to do is you need to remove your trim panel over your dash, and then you're going to remove your glove box, then you're going to remove your airbag. And I thought it was a good idea. I removed my radio. You can't stick your hand and you don't get any access with it, but what you do get is I stuck my flashlight down where the radio goes, and that was able to illuminate the area that I was working on. And then you're going to remove all these kick panels, your door sill plate, your A-pillars, your rubber, and then you're going to remove your dash trim piece on here, and that's because you need to loosen the dash a little bit to give you some working room. Okay, let me talk about the part real quick. So this is the part right here, and there's two different parts. One actuator is going to be for the automatic system, and one actuator is going to be for the manual control system with the 3 knobs. And I'll put the links to both of these parts down below. So my local Ford dealer had this for $62, and then I went over to Amazon and I typed in the part number and I found it for $40. So I ordered it from Amazon, and sure enough it showed up 2 days later, and I saved $23. And this is my old one here. And there's the new bag. So it took me about an hour to get all these parts, or to get all these trim pieces out, and then it took me about an hour to get the to replace the actuator. So I guess it'll take me about another hour to put all this stuff back in. Now, real quick, I've already put the new actuator in there and I've tested it, and I've got the car to normal operating temperature to make sure I've got AC and heating, and everything is working. So obviously replacing the actuator was the right thing to do, but I just wanted to confirm and verify that. So back to the online repair procedure. The last step is to do the pinpoint testing. Well, I guess I cheated a little bit, and what I did is I took my fluke meter here and I just put it on a simple resistance check, and I just probed all of these pins inside the bad actuator here. Well, I did both. I did the good one and the bad one. And so I just assigned arbitrary positions for these pins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And this is what I came up with. Basically, all of these pins mirrored similar resistance values, except for two, pins 7 and 5 and pin 5 and 8. And on the good actuator, I was getting 93 ohms on those two pins, and on the bad actuator, I was only getting 1 ohm. So what that tells me is, if I'm daring to assume that that pin 7 and 5 and 5 and 8, those are the wires that are going directly to the little DC motor that's in here, and it should have a resistance value of 93 ohms, and it's got a resistance value of 1 ohm. So I'm thinking the motor has burnt out or shorted out internally. So after doing this, I'm 100% satisfied that I replaced the correct part, and this is for sure definitely a bad part. Okay, oh yeah, real quick on tools. I was able to do this job with just basic hand tools. I just had a 7mm, an 8mm, and a 10mm socket on a 1/4 inch ratchet, and then I had a 15mm on a 3/8 ratchet. I'll show you what that was for. An inspection mirror. This will come in handy when you're trying to look around in there. Just a trim removal tool. And this is probably the most important tool. You will not be able to do this without an 8mm ratcheting box wrench. That's the most important one here. And I'll save that for later. Alright, so let's go on over to the car. So again, remove this piece right here. This is your foot sill, and then remove the weather stripping around here. And the reason why you need to do that is you need access to this 15mm bolt right there. You just need to loosen it just a little bit, and then come on over to this side. Now you can already see I've got 2 blocks of wood in here wedged in between the dash and the A-pillar, and that's because you need to pull the dash forward just a couple of inches to give you just enough room so you can get your 8mm wrench on those bolts on the actuator inside. So remove the airbag, remove the glove box, remove this vent, and then probably the hardest part I had was removing this duct for the duct work right here. And then I removed the radio and stuck a spare flashlight down in there, and that helped out a lot. Now once you, and let me show you where the actuator actually is. So that's it right there, and the 2 bolts on the front you can get to like a piece of cake after you loosen the dash, and the one on the back, it was inaccessible to me, and even if I had removed the dash all the way out, I still would not have access to it. So what I had to do is I had to just wedge it up a little bit, and then I took a screwdriver and I just tapped on it until that last thing just snapped off. And I also forgot to tell you about, there's 3 bolts on the top of the dash here, 1, 2, and 3, and then there's a bolt right in there. So really it's only 3 bolts on the top of the dash and then 2 bolts down here, and then you can loosen the dash all the way back to stick your 2 pieces of wood in here to pull it forward. Now real quick, let me show you how you can confirm and verify that your actuator is actually working. So If you've got a fancy automatic system, you can just do the code procedure, and that'll tell you. But if you don't, all you got to do is turn it to full heat. Right now I've got it on 90 degrees, and what you're going to do is you're going to switch it to full cold. And when you do that, you should watch the arm on the actuator and watch it move. So right now, let me see if I can get some light in here. Okay, so right now I'm going to turn it from full hot to full cold, and you should be watching this little arm move. See, it's already starting to move. It's that fast. So there you go. It's going to full cold air conditioning. There you go. And if I want to turn it back, I turn it back to full hot, and it should swing right back. And so doing this job, it really wasn't difficult. It's just time consuming and requires you to have care and patience. So just take your time, and you really can't do this. I really don't see how you could do this without loosening the dash and pulling it back and sticking these pieces of wood in there. Okay, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.